Mom always said she wasn't hungry, that she was fine. Back then, I believed her without thinking twice. I thought that was just what Mother said. But now, looking back at that little bowl, I realize it carried a truth I was too young to see. It was never just dinner. It was a sacrifice on a plate. This story starts in a small kitchen, with almost nothing in the cupboards, and a mother who kept saying, "I'm fine." I remember that night so clearly. The table was small, the room was quiet, and the only sound was the soft scrape of my spoon. She placed the bowl in front of me like it was a feast. Her hands moved slowly, carefully, as if this simple meal was something precious. She smiled and said, "Eat slowly, there is enough." I didn't notice the worry in her eyes. To me, she was just Mom, always calm, always steady. Her own plate sat in front of her, perfectly clean, perfectly empty. I thought maybe she had eaten earlier. I never wondered why she didn't serve herself. That empty plate, if I look at it now in my memory, says more than any word she ever spoke that night. While I ate, she drank water. Just water. She said it helped her stomach feel light. Her fingers tightened for a moment around the glass. Now I know that wasn't comfort. It was a quiet way to fight the hunger. Her eyes drifted to the pot on the stove, as if checking one last time if there was anything left. There wasn't. She leaned back in her chair, folded her hands quietly in her lap, and pretended her silence was comfort, not sacrifice. She just watched me eat, as if my full stomach was enough to fill her own. That was her kind of hunger, the kind she chose. As a child, I never questioned any of it. I laughed, I ate, and I believed every word she said. Once, I remember asking, "Mom, aren't you going to eat?" She waved her hand and said, "Oh, I already did." Like it was the most natural thing in the world. Our fridge was often almost empty. A few eggs, a bit of milk, maybe some leftovers. I thought that was just how life worked. She came home with small grocery bags, never overflowing, never heavy. But she always told me, "We have enough." She made scarcity feel normal, wrapping it in gentle smiles and soft words, so I would never see it as a burden. When I got older, I sometimes saw her at the table late at night, counting coins by the light of a dim lamp. Her fingers moved slowly, dividing coins into tiny piles, as if each one carried a decision. On the table, I saw grocery lists with items crossed out. Snacks, fruit, something sweet, gone with a line of ink. She circled only the basics, the cheap things that could stretch for days. I never knew she erased her own wants with every stroke of that pen. When there were leftovers, she wrapped them so carefully, like something rare and valuable. Those leftovers were her dinners. Years passed. Life moved on, and I grew up and left that little kitchen behind. After she was gone, I came back to clean the house, and found an old wooden spoon in the drawer. The edges were thin, worn down from scraping every last bit of food from pots and pans. It had served far more than I ever realized. I stood there in the same kitchen, holding that spoon, and suddenly every empty plate came back to me. I saw her in my mind, stirring a small pot of food, pretending it was enough for both of us, when really it was only enough for one. I sat down at that table, the same table where she watched me eat. The house felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. Her smile returned to me, not as a simple expression, but as a shield she had carried for years. I replayed all the times she turned away from the table, saying she wasn't hungry, saying she had eaten already. With that spoon pressed to my chest, I finally understood she had never been full. She had simply chosen emptiness for herself, so I could feel full instead. Her hands told the same story. Tired, cracked, always moving, always working to keep something on that table. She went to bed hungry, but she went to bed happy, because I never had to feel that same emptiness. From the outside, our home looked simple, just another small house on a quiet street. No one could see the sacrifices happening inside. The world never saw her hunger. It was hidden right here, between a single plate and a glass of water. If I could talk to her now, I would tell her she didn't always need to be strong. She didn't have to hide everything from me. I would pull out this chair for her, place a plate in front of her, and tell her, this time, you eat first. In my heart, I imagine her sitting there again, smiling without needing to pretend. I set the spoon down on the table, not as an old utensil, but as a symbol of every quiet sacrifice she ever made. Mom wasn't hungry. She wasn't full either. Her body was empty, because her heart was overflowing. She chose to love me first, every single day, even when it meant going without. And now, after all these years, I finally understand what her words really meant. When she said, "I'm fine,"